we've all heard of Shmura Matza. Matza we've definitely heard of. Shmura Matza is a term that is often bandied about. The word Shamur means guarded, protected. And the term Shmura Matza actually derives from a turn of phrase in the Torah. It says, in the Torah itself, it says, Ushmartem es hamatzos, that you shall guard the matzah. Now, in the context, it means you shall ensure that you fulfill the mitzvah of eating matzah on the Seder night. And the Torah is saying, in future generations, don't forget this dramatic, life-changing experience that has set the Jewish people forevermore on a course of freedom, a course that directs us away from slavery and away from subjugation to a human authority and towards subservience only to Hashem. Don't forget that, and rather celebrate and recall the Exodus year by year. And of course the Jewish people, even 3,300 years later, continue to do exactly that. That is the simple meaning of the expression in the context of the Torah. However, the rabbis understand that there's something further as well. It means that the matzah must be guarded and protected from becoming chametz. I don't mean just the matzah itself once you open it from the box, but it means the production of the matzah must be done in such a way that the dough does not rise, which of course would make it chametz. So that's at the technical level. But if we go a bit deeper, there are different stages of shmura, by which I mean that there are different levels of ensuring that this matzah that you hold in your hand, that you're going to eat at the Seder night, is definitely free of any possibility of chametz, of leavening, and it is free of any possibility of the dough rising, which would make it chametz and forbidden to eat on Pesach. There are different levels. In particular, there are three. There's called Shmura Misha'as Lisha, there's Shmura Misha'as Techina, and there's Shmura Misha'as Ketzira. I'll explain what I mean. Lisha is when the water and the flour first mix, and it's kneaded. Lalush means to knead, and it's kneaded into dough. So that every matzah that you find anywhere in the world, which is kasher lePesach, is protected, is guarded against becoming chametz from the time that the water and the flour get together. There may be different levels of meticulousness and reliability. I'm not saying every piece of matzah is as perfect as every other piece. There may be different levels of reliability, but whatever rabbi says, yes, you can eat this on Pesach, is telling you that as a minimum, this matzah has been guarded against becoming chametz from the time the water and the flour get together. That's the basic minimum. The higher level is called Shmura Misha'as Tchina, which means that from the time that the grain, Tchina means ground, from the time, not like earth, but to grind. Shomer Mishas Ketzira, from the time, Shomer Mishas Techina, from the time that the kernels of the wheat is ground into flour. That is a higher level. And according to most authorities, the matzah that you eat on the Seder night to fulfill the mitzvah should be Shomer Mishas Techina. There is, however, a higher level, and that higher level is the commonly accepted level nowadays. And that means it's been protected and guarded against any possible contact with water or other moisture from the time that it is harvested. Ketzira is from the time that the grain is harvested. And that is a more demanding level. And in fact, that is, as I said, the common practice nowadays. If you buy shmura matzah, which costs you a bit more than regular matzah, it is matzah that is made from grain, and the grain itself has been guarded and protected from any moisture from the time that it is harvested. It's packaged separately and in a certain way. Even they harvest it a bit earlier. They even harvest it because they're concerned that if they wait until it's fully ripe, what if it rains the night before? It might start to ferment even on the stalk. So they actually harvest it a week or so earlier than they would otherwise harvest it. And the rabbis who are involved in the supervision of matzah, some of them actually go to the fields. I can't tell you exactly what time of year it is, but it's definitely a long time before Pesach, in order to, there's a picture of Dayan Geli I once saw, sitting on a big combine. If you buy shmura matzah, and you should use shmura matzah for the Seder night, for the matzah of the mitzvah, it's praiseworthy and in it's preferable, that is matzah shmur. It means it's been guarded from fermentation even from the time when it's first harvested. Now, I'm not talking yet about hand matzah. That is the next item here. So that is shmura matzah. That goes in a box in the regular way. Only a small fraction of the matzah on the general market, even the kosher Pesach matzah, only a small fraction of it is shmura matzah. Because, strictly speaking, one only needs to uphold that stringency for the matzah of the Seder night. However, there are many people who eat shmura matzah for all of Pesach. There are many people like that. And we do that in my own home. As I said, it costs a bit more, not an enormous amount more, but it does cost a bit more. But now I'll tell you what costs a lot more, and that is hand matzah. Now the hand-baked matzah is all shmura, because the people who like the hand-baked matzah also want the shmura matzah. But the main reason the hand-baked matzah costs so much more is that it's a handmade product. I mean, it's not rocket science. It's something which is produced on sophisticated machinery, which has great efficiency and other economic features. Of course, is going to crank out matzah for a much less of a price, per unit than something which is baked by hand. But there are many who prefer the hand-baked matzah, and my feeling is, if you want my thoughts on the subject, which I presume you do, otherwise you wouldn't be here tonight, is that it is a good idea, it's a nice idea to use hand-baked matzah for the Seder night. And the reason is a simple one. The matzah that you eat on the Seder night is a mitzvah. The matzah you eat the rest of Pesach, you eat matzah because you can't eat chametz, so you eat matzah. You may like it, you may have other things, but there's no requirement to eat matzah during the 8 days of Pesach or even the 7 days of Pesach. There is a requirement, it is a mitzvah, fulfillment of a positive commandment to eat matzah on the Seder night. And we'll talk a little bit more about that as we go along. Because it's a mitzvah to eat that matzah, the matzah is itself what we call a chefza shel mitzvah. And in fact, it's even mentioned in one of the early sources that great people would actually kiss the matzah. They would kiss it because of their love for the matzah, because of their love of the mitzvah. Just like you kiss a siddur, you kiss a sefer Torah, or some people would kiss the arba minim that we use on sukkahs. It's something which enables you to fulfill a mitzvah. So therefore, it's precious and beloved for that reason. There were people who kissed the matzah. I'm not saying you've got to do it, but I'm illustrating how the matzah is itself a vehicle for the fulfillment of a mitzvah. And therefore the matzah has to be baked lishma, which means it has to be baked for the intention and for the purpose of the mitzvah. So think to yourself, can a machine, it may be worth millions of dollars, that machine, or millions of pounds in Rakuzins, in the Leeds, they've got, fantastic machinery. It may be very valuable, but can the machine have the intent to bake the matzah for a particular purpose? Obviously not. Now you could say, and I would agree, that the people who operate the machine can have that intent, and they do. And that is why you may use, in my opinion, regular machine matzah as well. You may. But I feel it's doing the mitzvah in a better way. You're demonstrating a greater love for the mitzvah. And it's probably a lot closer to what our ancestors ate when they left Mitzrayim, and certainly much closer to what our ancestors ate 100 and 200 and 300 years ago, going back into antiquity, much closer when you eat a hand-baked matzah, which basically is very close to what we've been eating in the Jewish world for centuries, more so than a machine-baked product which has only been around for a number of generations.